Now we are blocking in our values of the face, and it's part 1 with a gloss glazing liquid in grayscale. And again, we are starting off by adding, well, I don't know how I feel about adding gloss glazing liquid anymore to my grayscale, and the reason why is I don't know, it pulled up a little bit. I would highly recommend maybe just mixing your paint first in grayscale and putting your gloss glazing liquid to the side and then adding your paint directly to the gloss glazing liquid. Only because I've had some issues recently where I put the gloss glazing liquid into the mixed paint and it got really clumpy really fast. So don't make that mistake. Just mix your paint as normally for a grayscale. And I know I've probably said this a bazillion times, but I think it's really important. Put your gloss glazing liquid onto the side, and then you can just take what you need when you need it. At this point in the painting, I am just finding the darkest values. And I'm almost just using, I think I'm just using pure black mixed pretty thin with my gloss glazing liquid. And remember, after a layer dries, if you need to go darker, you can always go on top of it. Even though they are transparent layers, you can always go darker, and actually could always go lighter as well. As I'm showing you here, it looks like I'm starting to find my highest highlights. And I'm not using pure white, I'm actually using somewhere in the middle. Because I know that I'll want to go lighter later, but I don't necessarily need to do it right now. And I don't know how I feel about this actually. Oh, you can see I just made a huge mistake. So I used a mop brush, and I'm going to pause it. Okay, so I don't know if you can see it right here, but I pulled up some of the paint on the face. And the reason why that happened is I had my little bit of a blender brush there, and what I wanted to do was, while it was still wet, just blend out the edges so it wouldn't look like a hard edge. But I waited a little bit too long, and there were 2 layers. I don't know if you recall. There was a layer underneath that was a little bit lighter in value, and then I added a second layer on and blended it. So what really ended up happening is the wet layer on top kind of reactivated the layer underneath, and by using that dry brush, I just pulled the paint straight off. So if I could go back in time and redo this, what I would do is actually just let this area go, let it dry, move on to a different area that I can work on, and come back later when I know for sure it has dried. Also, one last tip, if you're using your blender brush, make sure you're using your dry blender brush when your paint is still wet. Otherwise, you're gonna have problems. Okay, and we are gonna start playing it again. There I am back at that place again. It worked out, I think, but I could have probably waited a little bit longer for that to dry. I don't know why I was so determined to get that in. think this is going really well, what I'm doing right now, and I'm just really placing the value, blocking the values in like I should. I have a problem with getting distracted by certain areas that are really interesting and fun to work on. But what I'm doing at this very moment is just working my way all the way around the face. Well, so far, I guess we'll see. And just laying everything down first before you start working on any kind of details, even if it's a large chunk of space. The eyes I'm keeping super loose. I don't need to add any details this first time around. That can all be added later. But by adding these first layers in, at least I'm getting like a chunk of like a shade there that I know for sure that I can work and detail out later. But by keeping all the layers kind of on the same level, then we're not gonna have things that need to be oiled out or like glazed out later. You can see here what I was talking about with like pat, 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 like trying to get everything to just blend together. It's not gonna look super smooth, but it's like creating a gradient from dark to light on that cheek right here. And now up here, same thing. We're just kind of finding how to get from one shape to the other without looking like a hard line in between. If you're not too sure how to get those lines like properly, just make sure you're using some glazing liquid and it will help you all the way through. Okay, we're gonna move on to our next video.